There we go. Okay, well, good morning, warriors. This is day six of our first week together. Today is a day of reflection and looking back on the week that we have just been through. I want to ask you, and I know you're kind of a quiet group, so I'm just going to pull down my chat here to see if anybody is going to voice in here, weigh in. But yesterday we had to come up with our real number. So a lot of us have been living with our blinders on and just kind of going through the motions month after month with respect to our budget that we've been working with. But yesterday we needed to figure out how to account for all the true costs. So at the end of yesterday, you now should have your real number that we're going to work towards. Does everyone have that number? Because we need that number in order to proceed. I'm going to ask you to just weigh in on the chat to make sure that you give me a thumbs up or a yes. So I'm asking you to do that right now, please. All 6 of you. Nola, I know you have your number. The rest of you I can't see. So please just in the chat box right now, let me know that you have that number. Hello, people.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
Who is this? Is this Helen?
It's Carol.
It's Carol. Hi.
Hi.
Do you have your number, Carol?
My number. No.
No.
I'm actually following along with
Okay.
Johnny's program.
All right.
Yeah.
Not a problem. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And
I
Cindy?
am good.
Okay. Perfect. Cindy's got her number. Helen, where are you at? Oh, almost. We need to get it done this weekend. Okay. Thanks for your honesty. That's great. Johnny, how are you?
Hey, it's Johnny. Sorry, I'm having issues with my program this morning, and I can't really follow. But yeah, I'm almost there with my number.
Beautiful. So, sorry, you can't follow the chat, but you can hear us? Yes, right?
Yeah, I'm on my phone, just doing the meeting with the audio portion.
Yep, not a problem. Okay. Okay, thanks for letting me know. So your number you'll have this weekend for sure.
That's right.
Okay, beautiful. Thanks, Johnny.
Yep.
Okay, thanks everybody for weighing in. I just wanted to make sure that everybody's on board with that. Everybody has what they need. I just wanted to mention before we move on that Nola gave us a really good example yesterday and this morning where she was just talking about how when she put together her budget, she came up with a really big number because very ambitious and very motivated and wanted to get her house paid down within 3 years as well. So that mortgage debt, to get that taken care of in 36 months, which, as I'm sure all of you could imagine, probably sent shockwaves through her. Yeah. Are you okay, Nola? It looks like you're looking.
I'm just, yeah, I'm going to have to log out and log back in.
Okay, why is that?
I've lost your page somehow. I don't know what I did.
Oh, the screen? It's there. I don't think you need to, if you move your mouse around, it will pop up. I know it's there because I can still see you. So, and you know what? You don't need my screen today if you don't need it, because I'm going to read through it.
Oh, there.
And
yeah, why did it do that? Oh.
Pretty good. You'll find
it there.
So sorry, back to that point with Nola. Her first number was a large number. And of course, the resistance that goes up to, oh my gosh, I'm just going to pick a number here, 50,000. I need to generate $50,000 a month. You can tell there's a lot of kind of, in Nola's words, terror to how the heck am I going to do that? Her first number, again, we'll just pick a number out of thin air here, but if her number to get out of all debt, including mortgage debt, was $50,000, and then her first plan that did not include the mortgage debt was only $25,000, you can feel that already there's a softening of, okay, 25, let's put a plan together in place for that. So, what we talked about yesterday was that I don't want that number to scare you. I know that you're going to feel uncomfortable with it. I know you will, because you have been living for decades with the number that you currently have. We're getting you to explore your growth zone. So stepping out of your comfort zone, which means it is going to feel uncomfortable. Which is perfect, because if it feels uncomfortable, then you know you're growing. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. You're going to see next week that all that you've created over these decades with respect to your current financial situation has simply been a reflection of all of your past choices and decisions. And those choices and decisions have simply come from your mind. And we're going to look at the programming that you've been programmed with. Each one of you has very separate programs, but we have to figure out where those programs came from, and we can change the programming. So it's that simple. Okay, so I'd love to hear from you with respect to what kind of epiphanies came up for you. If there was any aha moment. So these might be things like, I've realized that over the last 10, 20 years, I have been prioritizing, an education fund, or I have been prioritizing spending on vehicles, or maybe you realized what you haven't really valued over the course of the last decade or two, which might be an investment account or a savings account. So if you can, please just weigh in on chat, or if you have the courage to voice up, that would be great too. But I'd love to hear at least one or two epiphanies from the group with respect to what showed up for you this week.
Okay, this is Carol speaking.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, and I think, I don't know if it's an epiphany, but it was a definite light went on, and I called Johnny, because as you know, we're a team.
Mm-hmm.
And I called Johnny yesterday and said, okay, we need to stop. We need to get off this boat, and we need to start talking. So I think the biggest thing, which I already knew, but this was just reassessing things and looking at things and saying, okay, this is correct. And the biggest thing for me was, you got the bucket that's personal and the bucket that's business.
Mm.
And those two lines often become one big blur.
Mm.
And you go, okay, no, but I owe that personally. No, actually that loan is sitting on your company books. And wait a minute though, that's business. No, actually that has to do with your personal life. And what's the difference? Well, one minus the other. And let's stop looking at everything like this is your personal debt. This is all personal. It's all overwhelming. It's too much to handle. And let's put this in two separate buckets. One is business, one is personal. And when you're a business owner, you just go, okay, this whole thing is one big schmoo, and it's overwhelming and it's too much, and how am I going to do all that? Well, I'm going to have to pay for it personally, because how else is this going to get paid?
Exactly. I love that.
So when putting all these numbers in it became really relevant quite quickly, because this all happened in the first week, that it's like, okay, we're on this level of you personally, and the only thing that's coming out is on a personal level, A, you don't make enough money, B, you don't have enough assets, so that equals C, which means you, the person, is not being looked after. Then we look at the business and go, oh my goodness, the business has got all of this debt. What are we going to do about that? Okay, well, we're going to use this program, and we're going to extrapolate some different numbers now and say two separate buckets. What's your personal? What's your goals? How are we going to get there? Now let's use the same program and say, okay, this is the business. What's our goals, and how are we going to get there? So big, huge light came on. It's like, like the sun coming out in the morning. It's
beautiful. Awesome. I love it. And what's so important, I'm actually going to post one of my money hacks today. The money hack today, actually number 10, is divide and conquer. And it's that exact concept. Divide and conquer, separate personal from business. And you know what's so important about what you just said is I forget the word you used, if it was schmozzle or schmoz.
Schmoz.
Schmoz. So, you know, what's fascinating about the schmoz is that, first of all, you've got a schmoz in your personal life, which equals and mirrors a schmoz in your business life, because your business finances just mirror your personal finances. But potentially more relevant is that when you're in a schmoz, when it's all like that, you just can't find the clarity and it's just filled with schmoz. Guess what you get more of? More schmoz. So
Yep.
the schmoz just compounds and compounds and compounds. And that was the whole objective of this week, was to finally get clarity over what needs to be created. So we move from schmoz to clarity. Once you get clarity, you can create.
Exactly.
You're still creating, but in example A, you're creating more schmoz, because that's what you're putting out there. It's fascinating. So thanks, Carol, for bringing that up. That's a really good aha moment to share. Anybody else want to share an aha moment? Sorry?
This is Cindy. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Can everyone else? Nola, you want to give us a
Yes, we can.
Yeah, perfect.
Oh, cool.
Okay, great.
My epiphany kind of follows just what Carol said, is the number that I got on my personal scared me. And I thought, well, I can't get that number on my personal unless I know what the number is that I need in my business. So you're right. You have to do both of them, because for me, my revenue comes from my business. So I can't hit my number in my personal unless my business is, I know what my business number is going to be.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
I want to add one more thing. Like, I don't know if any of you watch the Dragon Den, but this is something that I coach all my customers on. I'm a bookkeeper, just so that everybody understands where I'm coming from, and I coach my clients to get better with their finances and whatever. And one of my favorite sayings I say to people is, do you ever watch the Dragon Den? And most of them say, well, I've at least seen it. Okay, so you know what one of their first questions is? We're deciding whether we're going to buy into your company. Okay, so you on payroll or are you on dividends? Okay, so you're on dividends, so you just take all this money out of the company, and then you end up paying more tax. And where does that personal tax have to come from? Oh, wait a minute, it has to come from the company again. Or you're on payroll and you're making, I don't know, i.e. $50,000. Okay, so now let's look at a big company like TELUS or Shaw, or I don't know where you guys live, but let's talk about some big company that happens to be in your city. So that job that you do, how much do you think that would get paid? Oh, that'd probably get paid, I don't know, between $120,000 and $150,000 a year. So the Dragon's Den says, so how much do you pay yourself? $30,000? Okay, this deal is done. You're out of here. We're not interested in your company because your company's not real. Because based on how much are you paying yourself, that's not real. That is not real. So your company is not real because you're not paying yourself what that job is worth.
Right. So yeah, fair market value, right? And
yeah,
there's some amazing websites. I think PayScale is one, payscale.ca, where you can actually just put in what is the pay scale of this role for this type of industry with this many employees in this part of the country, and it will give you a range. Right? So you can say general manager for an esthetician, spa, whatever it may be, operating out of Manitoba. The range is going to be 47 to 67. So really.
And you're looking at general manager, and I'm talking about CEOs, because honestly, if you're a business owner, you're not a general manager. You're a CEO. And they're making over 100, guaranteed.
So I'll, just as a caveat to that, I think when we look at evaluation, when accountants come in and put a valuation on it, they are going to put a fair market value in there. Oftentimes when we look at CEO salaries, they are certainly going to be a lot higher. So the other piece that you have to weigh, and it's a fine-tuning process, that, there's no easy, oh, here's the app. There should be an app for that. But you take, absolutely, you look at the value of the CEO role, but then you also need to look at, if you were to hire someone to come in and run that business,
exactly,
you're a four-man shop, potentially you wouldn't be finding a typical CEO that's coming in at $250 a year, right? You probably find someone for 90 to 125. So you kind of have to weigh that too. But Cindy, I also just want to come back on a really important point that you mentioned with respect to your business budget. So Yes, this week we've done a personal budget. You absolutely need to do a business budget. The piece though, you don't need the business budget to define your personal budget. It's actually the other way around. Once you have your personal budget and you see what you need to earn, that earning number, for example, if it's 12,432, including your personal income tax on that, right? So 12,332. What you're going to do is you're going to carry that exact same number over to owner salary in your business budget. And then once you account for all of your operating expenses, and again, very similar to personal expenses, every single time I do this with a business owner, they are forgetting approximately half of their monthly expenses. So when we really add them in there, including operating software, virus scans, backup protection, toilet supplies, cleaning supplies, kitchen supplies, they're like, oh, we thought the expenses were $150. They actually come out to $297 a year, right? $297,000. So with business expenses, you're going to add all of your operating expenses, including your new owner salary. And then you're going to add all of your cost of goods. And that then is going to define what your new sales targets are, right? So at the end of this challenge, I can come back and loop back on that because that's an important piece, especially for entrepreneurs, to now start to understand how they need to generate that number. But what you've done here is you've got amazing clarity on your personal budget, which then fuels your business budget, which is just, I'm so happy to hear that that's hit you now, that realization has happened for you. Thank you for sharing that. Any other big aha moments or epiphanies this week? Okay. Let's move on to, so I would like, if you don't want to share them here, I am going to ask that you definitely write them down in your manual or share them online. I'd love for you to post them into the locker room so I can take a peek at them and just make sure that this is resonating with you, right? Because if we're not getting epiphanies, kind of like, okay. Sorry, does someone want to weigh in? No, okay. So the next question, I'm very curious on this one. What habits have you identified that have put you into this financial situation? I'm not sure if someone's trying to voice in here or not. Is somebody trying to say something? No? Okay. So I'd like to know what habits now that you're aware of that have contributed to your current financial situation. In past examples, I have clients that realize that they took on all the financial management responsibility. So they told their partner, listen, you don't worry about anything, I'll take it all on, right? And then taking it all on, as they started to dig themselves into a hole, they felt more and more pressure. But really, the reality of that relationship is that you're a partnership and you've got two people that are equally responsible for the financial outcome. So that was one epiphany, or that was one habit that I've seen in the past. I've seen others where people will abdicate the finances and leave it to the other partner. I've seen where people their habit that they come forward with is that they've overspent, thinking that either overspending would start to fill up buckets, but now they've started to realize that overspending was keeping them from investing and saving. We get into the mindset next week of why people do that. So do any of you want to share some of the habits that have come up for you that you're starting to realize, oh, I've been doing that consistently for the last 2 decades. It's time for that to stop.
I think this is Carol again. I think if we're going to talk about epiphanies, I think it's more about what are the spending habits and what are the reasons behind those. And you brought up a really good thing yesterday, I thought, regarding animals. And I love animals, and I've always had a cat and a dog. I don't currently, but that's always been my thing. And I listen to people, and I listen to, what they're willing to spend. And, now our animals have become our children, and we're willing to spend $5,000 on chemotherapy but I got to get my teeth done, and I can't really afford that. So I'm not, no, I don't go to the dentist because, oh my God, that costs way too much money, and I don't have that money. But my dog needs chemo, so I'm going to pay that $5,000 for chemo. And I'm not here to judge people and say, really, you can't get your teeth done, but you're willing to spend $5,000 on your dog to get chemotherapy. But I think, I don't think it's about judgment, but it's about, okay, so you're busy taking care of all these other things, including, well, I have to be, if I'm going to work this hard, I need to be able to go out to the bar on Friday with my friends and go and drink and do whatever I want to do, and that's a priority to me. Or every Friday I order pizza or whatever, and it's like, okay, that's all fine, but going through these exercises, it then teaches you, okay, so that's the priority, but my teeth and my health and all these other things that I have to do to save for my retirement, oh, that's not, oh my God, that costs way too much money. I can't possibly think about that. Mm-hmm. Really? Mm-hmm. So then what are you saying the priority is? And I'm not saying that the animals are not a priority, but you have to write it all down, and you have to look at your life choices, and that's what this is making you do. So, well, yeah, but I got to put this much money in my budget to allow for this and to allow for that. And it's like, and then your retirement and your buying a house or paying down your mortgage or whatever goes lower and lower because I can't possibly do that. Well, okay, but then your choice is your day-to-day living is more important than your bigger taking care of yourself. And if you don't take care of yourself, what do you think you're going to have left over in your bucket at the end of the day?
Yeah. So that's another incredible point there. And so it's interesting because I find that, especially for a lot of you, because you're in front of a lot of individuals, and we know in Canada, a lot of us are going through financial challenges. And sometimes I find the most powerful thing that you can do for your clients is to ask them questions. So instead of providing advice, it's just to ask them the question and to get them to think about it. So in that case that you just brought up, Carol, the question becomes, why is your pet more valuable and worth more in life than you?
Exactly that.
Right? And then they just have to sit with that. Why have I put a higher value on my pet's life than my own? Right?
Yep.
And then hopefully, even just saying that, I can feel for me, I can feel that compassion when you told me that story. And this is what we explore next week, and you'll see this. But oftentimes as parents, and we all know pets can be our kids, we will show our children and our pets the same amount of love and compassion that we wish we got when we were kids, or that we wish we could give to ourselves. That's it. That's the mirror. So that story hurts me because that person must be feeling such low self-worth that they're willing to put all of that money. And again, you're right. It's not about not investing in the pet. It's about the fact that they can't invest in themselves, but they're so hungry and desperate for that love that they would do that. Right? So it's fascinating. I thought next week is going to be an incredible adventure for all of you. It's a total game changer when you start to understand your mind on money, and that every single action that you have been taking, including investing in pets or buying vehicles or not putting money into investment or security, because that's really all overspending is. Overspending for the most part is just making a subconscious choice to not put money into savings and to not put it into investing. There's a whole bunch of reasons, which I will explain next week as we get into it. But that's a great point, Carol. It's asking yourself the question, why has it been okay to do this, right? Because it really does get you thinking. And then when we come from our prefrontal cortex, it's a total game changer for all of us. So thank you. Any other habits that anybody wants to share with us? Sorry.
This is Cindy again. I am scared to be in debt. So I avoid it with everything that I have. And so my only debt is my mortgage. And my home is old, and this is where I'm struggling. My home is old, and I find that I must spend at least $10,000 a year fixing something major.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to budget for that. And then right now I'm going, okay, am I in the wrong home? Like now it's forcing me to ask more questions.
Beautiful. I love it. Questions are great. And you're going to see next week, I suspect that fear of debt is probably inherited. Like as we start to go through the money tree, you're going to go, oh, I am just reliving this fear from 3 generations ago. And it just goes on and on and on. There's something that's interesting. Inherited attributes are things that you feel but you can't explain. They're things like, oh, I feel like I'm going to lose all my money, or I feel this immense pressure of being in debt, and you don't quite know where it comes from. Usually those are inherited traits. And you'll see as we go through the money tree that you can probably start to pinpoint a couple of situations or traumas that your previous family members went through that just got embedded at a cellular level, and that's where those fears are coming from. And then once you see that you're just reliving some of those things, it's like, that is not my choice anymore. And then we just need to calculate numbers, right? That's it. Because sometimes it does make sense, like mortgage debt, that, here we've got something, but long-term asset, right? Over time. So we'll go through all of that. But I love that you're coming up with these things. And please make sure, all of you, that you write this down. So today is a day of reflection for you. We've had some great examples of what have come up for people. This exercise doesn't stop here. Now, for each of you, I want you to go away and I want you to actually start thinking about what epiphanies, what aha moments, regardless of how small they are, came up for me. And then what habits. And those habits are going to be really important for you because, well, the habits and the epiphanies, and there's kind of a gray line between the two. But they're important because that is where all of our subconscious decisions have come from, and we need to program those things. So the more that you can see what patterns you've already been are already established and what habits you've been going through for the last couple of decades, we need to start reframing them. So if you can start on that now, that would be great to get those written down. And then, of course, any sort of feelings. So Cindy gave the example of the feeling of being scared to be in debt. So that's a feeling, right? It's not necessarily an epiphany, and it's not necessarily a habit, although that feeling, scared, has led her to make decisions over the years, which have resulted in her current situation. So on the next page of your reflections, there is a place for you to put your feelings. And again, I want you to write these down because you will see that you are probably just feeling what 3 generations have been feeling. It's crazy. I promise you, you're like, I don't understand how this is all going to come together, but it will. And then it's your choice to feel something different. And on week 3, this is where we actually start talking about it's your responsibility to own your feelings now, because feelings are just feelings and you can change them right away. Every single situation that you're experiencing right now has both a negative and a positive, and you're choosing to feel a certain way about it. It's your choice. Anyways, that's a whole other 1 hour, video I could do on this. I have no lack of content. That's for sure. I'm gonna just go. Okay. So the next thing that I want you to do, and you'll see that underneath, is that you have to write, please, all of your goals to make them very clear, because you've got them in your Excel sheet now, but I want you to take those numbers because they're all listed out, and I just want you to write down one number beside each one of these areas. What do you need to earn? What do you need to put aside for savings? And maybe it's up to you if you want to do it on a monthly basis or an annual basis, what feels better to you. What are you going to put towards spending needs, spending wants, getting your debt taken care of, investing and sharing? So this just further clarifies, this is exactly what my intention is to achieve through the matrix. This is what I want to create. Bam, 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 bam. You've got your numbers. It's that simple. All right. The next thing after that is that on the next page, you've got follow-up action. So this was a little treasure this morning. I was writing this out in our locker room, and I went to go attach a link, and I deleted my entire post that took me half an hour to write. So I wrote it again. So I have to go back and put the links in because I saved it this time. But I actually put in just a few of the things that we talked about this week in terms of next steps for you on really mastering your money game. So just to clarify, definitely setting up a savings account, a checking account, and an amortization account. Remember that amortization account is basically just a holding account where you're going to assign your monthly contributions, right, for those big annual expenditures such as tax bills, winter tires, or any sort of housing maintenance that you may have. So the other thing I want you to remember there is make sure you don't get gouged on bank fees. These accounts should have so few transactions every year, right? All you're doing is contributing to them. You're not withdrawing from them. Maybe 2 to 4 times a year you're withdrawing, and that's it. So your bank fees should be nominal, a couple dollars a month, 5 at most. Next, set yourself up for online banking if you don't already have it. This just, makes a world of difference when it comes to getting everything paid. The other thing, if you go to the blog in Aha Moments, money hack number 1 is actually about keeping all of your stuff together in one spot. I call it the binder. There's a picture of the binder that I have. So it's a 3-inch binder, 12 tabs, 5 tabs behind it. I put all of my bills, investment summaries in there. My parking tickets that I did not budget for are in there as well. So everything's in one spot. So you don't need to go through files. You don't need to, it's all just taken care of. Speaking of debt, in point 3, we talked about your debt repayment plan. So make sure that you're printing that off, putting it in the binder, because every month now you're going to take those sums and make sure that you're applying that debt to those specific creditors. If you can automate it, that's great. A lot of you are probably going to be scared to do that because I suspect a lot of you are going to be coming from this place of scarcity, and I'm not sure I can make the number happen, so I don't want to automate it right away. So take time with it if you need to take time with it. I'm not here to force you into that. So automate the debt payment. And the second piece you can do, and I've actually had clients experience success with this, is calling their creditors to negotiate a lower interest rate. And some people are going from 24 back to 19 or even 21. So that's 3%, right? Over 3 years, you're going to save yourself a couple $100s. So it's a 10-minute call that can save you hundreds. If you want, I'm going to post today a form where you can get a copy of your credit report. And if not, there's also Credit Karma, which you can go to. Actually, this was another important point here, number 5. I think, Dana, if it's okay if I mention this as an example, myself included though, when I first went through this, I went through all of my credit card statements to kind of take a look at my debt, my debt repayment plan. And I noticed that there was one monthly reoccurring charge on there, $35 for a video service that I hadn't used for 3 years. That's $35 times 36. What is that math? I'm curious now. I'm probably just going to vomit, but 35 times 36. So $1,260. Woohoo! For a video that I used once. So call the card companies cancel those reoccurring charges. Now I will say sometimes those are difficult to do because it's hard to get in touch with them. My experience, what I actually had to do, because they're like, oh, well, you've got the wrong password and we can't send you the email because that's no longer valid. And they might find lots of excuses. My quickest go-to on that was, if you don't find a way to cancel it now, I'm going to call the credit card company and let them and report you that you're not canceling the payment. That got their attention very quickly and it was shut down before the end of the day. So just a heads up on that. And then lastly, and potentially, no, it's not most important. Everything's important here. But you now have an investment number, right? We've got that magic number that you need to start working towards. You have taken the single most important step and you've actually started to allocate money towards it. So regardless right now of what you think you can do, and I know we have a new budget and we're going to ease into that new budget. We don't need to start that next week. But what I do want you to do, even if it's a jar right now, I want you to label that jar investment dollars. And if you're contributing $1 a day to that jar, you are now preparing for your investment, right? You're now putting money towards retirement. Now, I know you're thinking, what the heck does that mean? What it means is that your prefrontal cortex is starting to change your programming, because up until this point, many of you have not been investing. The fact that you're simply putting money aside every day now you've joined the Investors Club. You are now working towards your retirement. It doesn't matter how much the money, your prefrontal cortex is going to start to recognize that you're actually taking ownership of this, and you're going to start to create more of it. So just start there. The second thing is to start to reach out to financial advisors. Even if you go to your bank and ask to speak to your account rep, start collecting and compiling information. So you don't need to make any big decisions right now, but I call it the rule of 3, where anytime you're looking to engage a professional, whether it's an accountant, a bookkeeper, a lawyer, a financial advisor, go and interview 3 of them. Interview 3 of them, ask them what their track record looks like, what kind of clients they've worked with in the past, what they've managed to do for other people, what sort of portfolios they've built. And then I want you to ask them about, this is my retirement number, this is where I'm at now, what are your suggestions? And you take those 3 different buckets, and then you start to just weigh them. And then you're going to make an educated decision as to with whom you want to invest and where you're going to invest that money. And it might be that you invest with advisor A, but advisor C put in some really good information for you in their proposal. And so now you go back to advisor A saying, you know, what's your position on these things? So that's down the road, but I'm advocating absolutely for the rule of 3. Don't make any big jumps, any big decisions until you weigh all the information, and you're weighing it with other information as well. We can talk more about that after if you like. Okay, so sorry, just to recap now into week 2, I just want to let you know that later today, actually I think I'm going to record it right after this, I'm going to record a segment on mindset. So it's going to be probably about 30 minutes of prepping you for the week ahead. So what are we going to uncover in mindset, and why is the mindset so important? What are the 3 parts of our brain? What are epigenetics? What is the cellular structure? What is all this mumbo jumbo that Tanya's talking about in mindset? So it's going to give you a really good framework for understanding what you've gotten yourself into for week 2. So I'm going to post that probably in the next hour and a half. So you're going to have that. Tomorrow's a day of rest. So really just rest up. Seriously, you've done a lot of really heavy lifting this week. Take that time to recuperate, take a long bath, meditate, do whatever it is that you need to do. We are scheduled to meet on Monday. Of course, I didn't recognize that when I booked it. I'm going to meet with whoever wants to meet with me. And again, the recording is going to be in the locker room under mindset for that first exercise. So depending if you have the day off and you don't want to weigh in, that's completely up to you, but that recording will be there. What I will tell you right now is the exercise, the first exercise that you have to do next week is called the money memoir. And if you haven't gotten started on it, I had recommended early on when I was sending you very early messages, like a month ago, I had recommended that you get started on this sooner rather than later, because you will have to start tracking your entire money history and all of your money memories from your earliest recollection throughout the years, because this is where you're going to start to see the patterns that have been repeated and your developmental programming. So I talked about inherited programming. Developmental programming is everything that you took on from 2 to 12. And I'm going to talk about this in the video. So you can watch the video later today or tomorrow after I post it. But the only way we can understand that programming is for you to write down your money memoir. So you might want to get started on that earlier rather than later. For some people, it took them, half an hour. For others, they decided to invest hours into it. So the more information you have in there, the easier it's going to be for you to see your patterns and understand where some of the feelings and beliefs came from. But it's a really important exercise that we're going to be taking on Monday. Okay, I've kept you longer. I said I would. Do you have any question? I'm sorry, I see 2 chats here. Oh, sorry, Cindy, I'm sorry. Can I scroll up on the screen? Sorry, how long ago was that? Half an hour. Hopefully you can see everything you need here. This is actually in the locker room. It's called Moving Forward, and it's some of the steps that we've taken, or some of the steps that we've recommended throughout the course of the week. There is actually also a document in the equipment room under bonus rounds that is called Money Maintenance, and it's 3 pages of a whole bunch of different steps that you can take, especially when we're done this challenge, so that if you keep taking conscious, deliberate action towards your money, you actually just create a healthier environment. So there's lots of steps in there that you can take, because everyone's like, well, you know, I can only pay bills so often, and I already have automated that. And so what else can I do to kind of step up and get involved with that? So there's some options there. And then Dana, thank you. So you've had so many epiphanies this week, so many aha moments. Can't focus your thoughts. Writing them down. If you write them down, Dana, that certainly helps to keep you focused. Like, just dump it, right? Dump it out of, usually when we're overwhelmed in our head, it's because we've got too many thoughts going on. So just dump the thoughts, and that's dump them on paper. Dump doesn't sound very loving, does it? But transfer them onto paper, and then they're there. And I don't want you to feel I'm not valuing what we've done this week. I'm still processing. I will sit with it today, though, and allow myself to feel. That's great. My money type right now is a Fool, and there's no surprise there. I've been operating on cruise control. Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Dana. That's very profound. Thank you for that honesty and authenticity there. Yeah, the Fool is the adventurer, right? The Fool is the one that they want to enjoy life. So walking through this can be somewhat painful because, yeah, we've been on this cruise ship, right? And we've been drinking the pina coladas, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, there's this whole other thing going on back here. But I promise you, when we go through this, you'll be on the real adventure of a lifetime, and it will be weighted, and it will be authentic. And the end result of it will be so much better than what the Fool experiences, because the Fool is just kind of in this, what's the word? It's not inauthentic. It's not fake. I have to find the right word for it. It's just kind of created for themselves in a little bubble so that they can pretend everything's okay. Now,
Head in the sand.
The innocent, yeah. You know, what I want to say here too is that your money types are not you, right? Your money types are not you. They are simply a reflection of where you are at with money. That's it. And they are going to change. They morph. And that's why I encourage you every week to kind of take that quiz again to see what's changing for you, because they're not static. They ebb and they flow. And our goal is to create stronger warriors, creators, and magicians out of all of you, and to put in the trunk the Fool and the innocent and the victim and the tyrant, because sometimes they have a role to play, but we're just going to take them out of the trunk when we need them. That's it. But right now on the journey, idea is to get the warrior in the driver's seat, the magician in the passenger seat, and the creator going, woohoo, I had this brilliant idea to go on a road trip. Let's do it. Let's go. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? So that's what we're doing. And Mel Robbins' book, 5-Second Rule. Yes, 5-Second Rule. I love it. So yeah, in the blog again is, how many of you familiar with Mel? Oh, sorry, I asked these questions. I expect everybody to woohoo. But Mel Robbins, she's got this amazing book called The 5-Second Rule. And it's basically just, again, prefrontal cortex thinking, that anytime you're resisting on taking an action, you simply count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you take a step. It doesn't need, because oftentimes we get overwhelmed because we think that, oh, it's this huge thing to do. And then just taking that one step, everything else starts to ripple from that. So you can take a look at the blog. Today, I'm also going to post a whole bunch of resources with respect to books that have motivated me throughout the years, throughout the decades. So I'm going to post them there, and I'm going to let you know if they're relevant to management, mindset, or motive. And I'm a big fan of Audible. Because you can do a drive to Calgary and you get a book done one way and you get a book done the other way, and it's awesome. Okay, I'm going to stop there, gang, because I have kept you way longer. Locker room is the follow-up actions. Reflect today, build your action plan going forward. These actions you don't need to take right away. I would just bench them. I would write them down in your list, put a date to them and what kind of priority if they're 1, 2, or 3, and then just pick it up again at the end of the challenge. Next week is going to be some emotional heavy lifting for you. So let's just bench that one for the time being, and you can pick that up again after the 26th, I think it is. Anyways, okay. All right, gang. If there are no more chats, so we're good, feel free to connect with me in the locker room. Send me a text. I love your emails. Thank you. Some of you have been sending texts as well. And yeah, I will see you. Have a great Sunday. Remembrance Day. I'm actually going to post to an amazing article that I read this morning about a trucker in Ottawa that was at a restaurant, a diner, and there was
I read that too, yeah.
Wasn't it beautiful?
Yeah.
So there was a busload of veterans that were coming in for dinner, and he treated all of these veterans. The trucker flipped the bill for all of these veterans. It was such a beautiful story of sharing, because he talks about how this was an experience that he'll remember for the rest of his life. And that's what sharing does, right? It feeds you in ways that spending can never do. It transforms your entire cellular structure. So I'm going to post that, and we'll share a moment of silence and memory tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And apparently there's going to be bells ringing throughout the country at sunset. So they've made this agreement, because I guess it's 100 years since the ending of World War I. What are we this year? 18, yeah. And so, yeah, the bells are going to be tolling through churches and synagogues and all sorts of religions and faiths at sunset across the country tomorrow. So that's fun. Cool. Okay. We'll see you on Monday if we do. If not, the recap will be posted to the locker room. Sorry, these sessions are getting longer and longer. I swear I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to bring it back to 15 minutes. Okay, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Yeah, she could talk on forever.
I don't know how to get off of there.